The Twins win the American sweep, and we'll reintroduce you to the newest member of the Bison football coaching staff. Sounds like a good Thursday. Hot Mic starts right now.
Hot Mic with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota. Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mic. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Thursday morning. Welcome to this We Were Due for a Win edition of Hot Mic. Appreciate you for joining us, however you are, on WDAY Extra. Hello to everybody in Sioux Falls tuning in on KSFL TV. Hello to everybody in Rapid City joining us on KNBN, also streaming on Inform.com and the WDAY Plus app. It is the third day of July in the year 2025. We're almost there. Almost to the holiday weekend. We're almost to fireworks, lakes, baseball, and all the hot dogs you can shove down. We're just power through one more day. And if you're one of the lucky ones already on vacation, must be nice. Congratulations. Appreciate you for joining us this morning. Once again, Sam Getzinger filling in for Dom Izzo this week while he is out on vacation. And while I'm here, we got a fun rest of the week here planned for today and for tomorrow as well on the 4th of July. Of course, today, as I mentioned, we're talking Twins. They're back in the win column. We're talking United States soccer. They got a sweep yesterday in their competitions across the country. Nothing more American than that, so we'll chat on that later today as well. Also today, we're going to reintroduce you to the newest defensive tackles coach for North Dakota State football. It's a name that everybody is familiar with, and Kody Martin. Of course, it comes after the news of longtime assistant Cody Morgan. Thank you, Eric. Cody Morgan. Of course, it comes after the news that longtime assistant coach Nick Gazer is deciding to step away from the team and become closer with family. So we'll hear from Kody later on this morning. Fun conversation I had with him. Caught up with him last night after all the news went down. So we'll hear that later on in hour number one. And of course, it is Thursday, and that means it's the return of the St. Cloud Power Hour. And since I'm in the big chair here this week, I've doubled down on the St. Cloud Power Hour with Alec Ausmus. We're going the full half hour with him because there is a ton to talk about between the Wild, the Twins, the Lynx, the Wolves, you name it. A lot to get to with him. So that's coming up to start hour number two later on this morning. Fun show planned, and again, we're going to have a fun show tomorrow as well to wrap up this holiday week and head into the holiday weekend. Let's start this morning with the good old Minnesota Twins, who were back in action last night. Game 2 of the series against the Miami Marlins. Again, game 1 the other day. Second straight game where they only had 2 hits to start the month of July and wrap up the month of June. They've only been held to a combined 4 hits and no runs. So they needed something good to happen yesterday in Miami. And this is how game 2 went in the series. A fun game, to say the least. Jansen Junk got the start for the Miami Marlins. The Twins, again, the bats have been absolutely cold. We pick it up in the top of the first. Brooks Lee with a sac fly to right field. That'll bring in Byron Buxton easily. 1-0 lead for the Minnesota Twins. They finally got a run. First time in 3 games. But then Miami comes back in the bottom of the second. Kyle Stowers again launches one deep to right. That's his second game in a row with a homer. But the Twins, they overcame adversity. First time in a while they've done that. RBI single by Carlos Correa. That will bring in Willie Castro. And watch this play. Game on the line in the bottom of the second. Harrison Bader in left field. Hold the phone. He's got a cannon. What a throw. That keeps the Twins lead at 2-1. What a dynamite throw. On the money. And that guns out Connor Norby on the way to the plate. Twins looking to wrap it up in the bottom of the ninth. Dane Myers, a grounder to short. Carlos Correa with a 6-4-3 double play to end the game. And the Minnesota Twins are back in the win column. Haven't said that in a little over a week. They pick up the win. A one-run win, by the way. How often do we see that from the Twins? They got the big plays when they needed it. They got the big throw in the seventh inning from Bader in left field. They got the double play. They got some timely hitting in that game. It's clicking. It's coming together. They also had 8 hits. I can't do math. What is that? They doubled their total from the last 2 games? We'll take it. Simeon Woods Richardson got the start on the mound. 5 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, and 3 strikeouts in the game. Carlos Correa was solid. 2 singles with an RBI. Willie Castro was great as well. Went 3 for 4. Had a double and a stolen base in the game. So the Twins get the win. They are now 41-45 on the season. Still well below is a little much, but they're still below the 500 mark. And look at this. In the AL Central standings, the Minnesota Twins, they're right there with the Cleveland Guardians, both 12.5 games back. Of course, Detroit still at the top. And then down at the bottom, it's Kansas City and the Chicago White Sox, who look like they will never turn it around. I think they're just going to set up permanent residency down there in the bottom of the AL Central. Game 3 coming up today. It's actually coming up pretty soon. 11:10 start time for Game 3 of the series against Miami. And then the Twins will come back to take on the Tampa Bay Rays. David Festa will get the start this afternoon. 2-2 record on the season for the young gun. 36 2/3 innings pitched. A 5.40 ERA. Let's see if he continues this trend of decent pitching here to start the month of July. We're going to have Corey Provis on the show tomorrow to chat what's going on with the Twins. And it seems like it's pitching one month, and then it's the bats the next month. It seems like the bats may be a problem last month, even though last game was a little solid in Game 2. So, again, Corey Provis will break that whole situation down for us and talk about what's to come for the Minnesota Twins as well. That's coming up tomorrow. Now, as I mentioned, once they wrap things up in Miami this afternoon, it's a quick turnaround. They got to get right back up here to the Twin Cities and get ready for a 3-game stretch over the holiday weekend with the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, that series is afternoon game, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it is a quick turnaround. Luckily, they have an 11:10 start time today. Right after the show, you can flip it over to Twins TV and catch that game. Now, here's the deal. More breaking news from the Minnesota Twins that came down yesterday. Bailey Ober was supposed to get the start on Friday, tomorrow, against the Tampa Bay Rays. But then yesterday, the Twins came out and made the announcement that Ober is actually going to go on the 15-day injured list with a left hip impingement. I'm not sure what a left hip impingement is, but it doesn't sound great. Now, it's not a surprising move. Quite frankly, I'm surprised it took this long, to be honest with you. He's been mentioning he's been dealing with a hip injury for a little while now, better part of a month. And you could see that, not to say that you can't directly pinpoint that the hip was the reason why his month of June was such a struggle, but you can fairly easily potentially connect the dots on that. Ober gave up 30 earned runs and 30 innings in the month of June. He had a even 9 ERA, which is very uncharacteristic of him. He even allowed 14 homers last month, including 4 of them in his last start on Saturday against the Detroit Tigers. So it's not a surprising move. I'm surprised that it took this long. Because, frankly, the Twins haven't won a game with Bailey Ober on the mound since, May 19th? And it doesn't take much. It takes a Google search. Google search the name Bailey Ober and read some articles, and you can tell that his performance last month is definitely taking a toll on his mental health. So this is it's bad news that he's not going to be with the Twins for about 2 weeks, maybe a little bit more than that. It's good news that he's going to have the ability to reset, lay off the pressure on that hip for a little bit, recollect himself mentally, find his groove, work on the things that he says he wants to work on with the pitching staff. And we'll see. Maybe he can come back and be the Bailey Ober of old. That would be the ideal situation out of all of this, with Bailey Ober going on the injured list. So you got him, Pablo, Zebby Matthews on that list as well. It sounds like he's getting a little closer to making a return. But here's the deal now. After this series against Miami, Ober no longer in the mix. So the Twins have decided to move Chris Paddock, who was supposed to be the Saturday starter. They moved him up to Friday. And now who's going to pitch on Saturday? As far as I can tell, we don't know. They don't know. So we'll see who gets the nod on Saturday afternoon. Sunday, it does look like it's going to be Joe Ryan to wrap up the series against the Tampa Bay Rays. There's been some corresponding moves with the news of Bailey Ober going to the IL as well. The Twins have announced that they're going to call up Cody Funderburk, all-time name, all-time hair, by the way. He's going to be called up to take over Ober's place in the active roster. So that's one move there. Also, some other Twins news before we move on from this topic. Jonah Bride, he's cleared waivers. He's been outrighted to St. Paul, so he's sticking around for a little bit. Hope the best for Jonah Bride, who was one of the Twins' top relief pitchers in the month of June, even though he was an infielder. That was just that kind of month. So he's going to be heading over to St. Paul. Of course, that came after Royce Lewis was coming back from his trip on the injured list. He's been back in the lineup a couple of days, and we'll see what he can do. And hopefully, cross our fingers, he can stay healthy. So again, to conclude our topic of conversation here on the Twins this morning to start the show, we got Miami today, 11:10. Right after we're done on the air here, you can flip it over to the Twins, and then 3-game stretch against the Tampa Bay Rays. So that is coming up later on this week, starting tomorrow. Okay, if you remember yesterday, we had Drew Trafton in to chat everything that's going on in the world of international soccer. And, of course, I'm not an elite soccer mind, but I do know when the U.S. is playing, pay attention to that. Of course, and when it's getting towards the home stretch of this Gold Cup, semifinals was yesterday. Of course, this is coming off of a really thrilling game at U.S. Bank Stadium in the quarterfinal round to beat Costa Rica to get to this point. That sets up the semifinal game against Guatemala, a Cinderella story in this Gold Cup tournament. And the Americans, they started strong. Diego Luna, remember this name. Kid's pretty solid. He scored the opening goal of the semifinal game against Guatemala, and then he followed that up just a couple of minutes later with his second of the game. That's now 3 in the last 2 games for Diego Luna. Chalk him down as a player you might want to watch moving forward. He's pretty impressive to watch. So the Americans hold a 2-0 lead. They've held that from pretty much the beginning of the game all the way up until the 80th minute, and then the Guatemalans make a comeback. In the 80th minute, time running out, they finally squeak one past the goalkeeper freeze. That was Yasmin Ryan, for Guatemala, Olger Escobar, who got the goal for the Guatemalans. And then right towards the end of the matchup here, it looked like they had an opportunity to tie it. But again, Freeze diving over, able to make the save. They hold on. The Americans advance to the Gold Cup final after a win against Guatemala. I love the reaction. That was after that final save there in the just final seconds of the match. Good game, solid game. Now, if you remember Drew telling us yesterday, if you wanted to watch competitive soccer, this game was likely not going to be the one to watch going into it. The Americans were supposed to just hammer the team from Guatemala, but that wasn't the case. Guatemala had an upset win in the quarterfinal round to get to the semis. A Cinderella team that hasn't been in the semis in 29 years. They weren't going to squander that opportunity. So they played hard. Tip of the cap to them. But the Americans were just one step ahead, again, led by Diego Luna with 2 goals in the game. So USA will play Mexico. They beat Honduras 1-0 yesterday in a very late matchup in the semifinal round. So the Gold Cup Championship features the Americans and Mexico, which, if you remember, Drew Trafton a couple of weeks ago telling us once this thing was all getting started, it's likely going to be USA and Mexico in the final, and that's exactly what we're going to get. That game will be played on Sunday at 6 o'clock. So mark that down on your calendars. United States with an opportunity to try to get a championship. Get ready for the World Cup that's coming up next year. We'll see what they can do when that international competition comes around. That's the gist on what happened for the United States on the men's side. Now, also, if you remember, Drew was telling us that arguably the most competitive game of the night was going to be on the women's side of things, with the United States taking on Canada in a good old-fashioned friendly competition. United States coming off of a couple of friendly wins against Ireland, picked up another one here against Canada. This was being played in Washington, D.C. at Audi Field. Good crowd there as well. Good crowd for both of these games. We'll pick it up in the first half here. Off the set piece, it's Sam Coffey navigating all the traffic inside of the box and finding the back of the net. United States would take the lead 1-0 after that. We go later in the first half. Claire Hutton, look at this header. Beauty. That is a masterpiece. Rising over the crowd and slips it into the lower 90, if you will. I guess that was more towards the upper 90. Just past the outreaching fingertips of the Canadian goalkeeper. So 2-0 lead for USA. We get towards the end of the second half here, and Yasmin Ryan with a left-footed shot from outside of the box, able to make it a 3-0 lead for United States. And how about that? Whenever United States can get a win over Canada, we'll take that. And the fact it happened on the week of Independence Day, both the men and the women, that's a solid patriotic weekend on the pitch. There's no doubt about that. 3-0 win for United States over Canada in the friendly competition. Again, the Women's World Cup coming up in 2027. United States at the top of the international rankings there. We'll see if they can take home another title in that, but they just keep on winning with a 3-0 score. 3-0, I should say, against Canada. So that's the gist on what happened last night. Twins win, men's soccer wins, women's soccer wins. Pretty solid Wednesday night as we move into our Thursday. With that being said, let's get you ready for the rest of our show here today. Fun show planned with a couple of great guests coming on. As I mentioned, we're going to reintroduce you, I should say, to the newest Bison defensive tackles coach, Kody Morgan, who makes his way over from Kent State back to North Dakota State. He was at NDSU for 7 years in a slew of different positions with the coaching staff. So really, if you name it, he's done it. And then he moved over to Kent State, became the defensive coordinator. This opportunity opened up, and he jumped on it rather quickly, too. And we'll touch on that when we air that conversation we had with him coming up at the bottom of the hour at 9:35. Also joining us at 10 o'clock, Alec Ausmus will come back and join us. It's the St. Cloud Power Hour making a return. So much to talk about with what's going on in the Minnesota professional sports world. You have the Wild making moves at free agency. It's been quiet, but they've made a couple of moves. You have the Wolves re-signing players. We'll see what they're going to do moving forward. They need a ball handler, couple out there, but the pickings are starting to dwindle down a little bit. So we'll chat with him about that. We'll chat with him about the Twins, also about the Lynx as well, who are coming off of a loss in the WNBA Commissioner's Cup. So that's our guest lineup brought to you by Northwestern Mutual coming up later on this morning. With that being said, we'll step aside when we come back. I've been taking a break from house settlement talk, but some more news has come up, so we're going to touch on that here on the other side of the break. This Thursday morning's just getting started. Hot Mike returns after this. Welcome back on this Tuesday morning. Eric, what tower cam is this? What are we looking at here? Which lake is this? Detroit Lakes out here. What are we in the calm before the storm? I don't see a ton of boats yet. Again, we're getting ready for the holiday weekend. If you're out on vacation, be safe. If you're headed there soon, be safe. Watch your fingers. Watch for fires. Make smart decisions, but have fun. That's the goal of this weekend. Again, we're going to have a fun show tomorrow planned on the 4th of July, so be sure to stick around for that coming up tomorrow. If it fits in your vacation plans, Corey Provis will join us. We're also going to chat with the Jamestown Athletic Director, Austin Heeb, about their move officially to the Division II level, and we'll get you ready for the holiday weekend as well. Also coming up later on today, again, Kody Morgan will air that conversation I had with him. I spoke with him last night about the move coming back to North Dakota State, so that's coming up in a couple of minutes here on this Thursday morning. Now, I mentioned house settlement news before we went to the last break, and of course, yesterday it felt like our little break away from all of this house settlement talk because it dominated the conversation on Monday and on Tuesday with North Dakota State opting in, the deadline coming to a close. A lot of questions were still up in the air. We've got answers in there as well, but again, it's still a confusing topic and hazy at times for a lot of people out there. Today, we're going to spark up that conversation once again because yesterday, some more news came down that the NCAA Committee of Legislative Relief, they announced a waiver to allow student athletes that programs have put as a designated student athlete to enter a one-time transfer portal. That is open from July 7th to August 5th, through August 5th, I should say. Ross Dellinger reporting this news here. Very solid, keeping everybody up to date with what's going on in the world of college sports. So a one-time transfer portal here for athletes that are on the designated student athlete list. Now, if you recall, going back to Tuesday, the explanation from our guy Mike McFeely on what a designated student athlete is, that is someone who is exempt from new roster limits that were implemented by the House settlement. They're grandfathered in. So they don't need to worry, essentially, if they're put on the designated student athletes list. And you carry that designation with you for the rest of your collegiate career. And, for example, if you're designated at North Dakota State and you decide you want to transfer, you still carry that designated student athlete tag and you are grandfathered in from any roster limits that the House settlement was going to put down. To further explain this a little bit more, an athlete is eligible to be placed on a DSA list if he or she have already been removed from the school's roster had already been removed from the school's roster due to the new House-mandated roster limits and was an eligible member of the team during the 2024-25 season and or recruited and assured a 2025-2026 roster spot by the program. Did you get all that? We're going to quiz you a little bit later on that. Now, it is, to my understanding, with the announcement of this one-time transfer portal window from July 7th, which is coming up here, through August 5th, that programs have until Sunday to submit their lists of designated student athletes to the NCAA. So Sunday, the list goes in. Monday, the transfer portal opens up. Now, this whole spiel is 2 months after the spring portal closed. So we're just keep on adding portals. Now, I'm curious to see what this one-time transfer portal is going to look for DSAs. reading up on this. This is something here from the CBS article on the topic here. They wrote on here, one Power 4 general manager told CBS Sports this one-time portal window is expected to essentially be a big nothing burger. Several other high-ranking Power 4 front office staffers shared similar sentiments with CBS Sports. Nothing burger. It very well could be. I'm interested in the context of what they mean by nothing burger. Is that the amount of people that are going to transfer in? Because, oh, by the way, the upcoming athletic season for NCAA Division I is right around the corner. We're getting there pretty quick. And if you decide you want to find a new home right now, that's got to be some quick work. Quick decisions need to be made. Now, are they also saying it's a nothing burger in the sense for these Power 4 programs? Are they going to want anybody that goes into this transfer portal? Because really, in this one-time span, it's going to be essentially walk-ons who grab this DSA designation here. It may not impact the Power 4 level. I'm curious if it's going to impact teams at the mid-major level. Say you got a DSA over here from, throwing a school out there. Let's just say Minnesota, Wisconsin, something like that. Mid-major level, the FCS program wants to snag one of those guys up, and they have an opportunity to fight for a roster spot. I'll be curious if it leads into that. I don't think it's not going to make an impact on big-time programs, but smaller programs who are looking for some more dudes heading into the upcoming season in whatever sport it is, dudes as in athletes, stud athletes. I think it could affect them. We'll have to see. We'll keep our eye on this window. I think a prime example of North Dakota State in the last transfer window. They added a linebacker out of the University of Minnesota and a running back out of the University of Minnesota that weren't seeing time with the Golden Gophers, but why not give them another opportunity here at the FCS level? If we're talking football, at the FCS level, try to fight for a roster spot, see what they can do. They were good enough to get on the roster at the bigger FBS programs. I'll be curious if FCS schools will try to clamp down on that. We'll have to see. Again, that one-time transfer portal from July 7th through August 5th. Another thing from Ross Dellinger that I saw earlier, guys, if you want to throw this up, of course, House settlement is in full swing right now. He says that open doors and teamwork systems that schools are using to facilitate rev share pay, they tell Yahoo Sports they distributed more than $16 million combined from schools to athletes on day one of rev share, which was back on Tuesday. PayPal, the system that's used in the Big Ten and the Big 12, they didn't provide any data, but $16 million on day one of revenue sharing. Craziness. It's a lot of money being shelled out. I go back. I've been thinking about this for the last couple of days, and there's an article up on inform.com that Jeff Kolpak wrote going off of the comments that Matt Larson made during the press conference on Monday on North Dakota State's decision to opt into the House settlement. And towards the back half of it, he was asked, when you were in college, did you ever think we would get to this point? And he said, no. He said he remembers the days of pure amateurism and fighting for, a spot to get to the college level. You're not getting paid. And then you're fighting for an opportunity to go on to the professional level. I totally agree with his statements. Again, his comments are in Jeff's article that's up on inform.com, and you can watch that whole press conference back from Monday on inform.com as well. I think where I get lost with this House settlement too, or I get stuck in the past a little bit. I'm so used, and I'm sure a lot of people are so used that. I remember the days where you couldn't accept a sandwich. You couldn't accept a sandwich, it felt like, from anybody, and you'd get hammered down with an NCAA violations. And now college athletics has turned on an absolute head quickly. And I think that's been hard for people to accept, if you will, for so long of that pure amateurism form. But it's changing. And these programs all across the country, I believe, I don't know if you guys can look up the total number. I think it was like 82% of Division I universities, Division I programs, elected to opt into the House settlement this go around. And they're adapting with the times. I'm not saying that the schools that didn't opt in are not adapting with the times. Everybody is. But these schools are rolling with the punches. Things are changing on a dime. We could see changes by the time we get back from the 4th of July vacation and what's going on. Essentially, we are going to see a change because the one-time transfer portal window is going to open. And who knows what that's going to mean moving forward. But you got to roll with the punches. It's difficult to follow. At times, it feels like who's got the biggest wallets? I know that's been the case for a couple of years now. Who's got the biggest pockets, and that could be a measure of success. I can agree with that statement a little bit. I also am still a firm believer that it comes up to the athletes. It's about them and what they do to determine success and the type of athlete that you bring into your program. Not so much about how much money's being shelled around. I'm still going to hold on to that form moving forward, but it's a different time. We've said it for years now, and I'll continue to say it here as well. It's a different time moving forward. Just the reality of what it is. Eric, did you say 319 schools? Yeah, 319 schools, 82%. So there you go. That's how many opted in to the House settlement. All right, I'm done with that for today. That's our House settlement conversation as for right now. I'll save the rest for when Dom gets back. I'm sure he's got a lot of opinions on the topic coming up on Monday. So be sure to tune into that show when he comes back from vacation. I'm sure he's been keeping an eye on it, even though he's supposed to be taking a load off here a little bit. All right, with that being said, we're due for a break here. Let's step aside. When we come back, we're going to hear from Kody Morgan, the newest defensive tackles coach for North Dakota State. We'll hear what went into his decision to come back to NDSU, how quickly this all moved, and a whole lot of Bison talk. And we'll also talk about his time at Kent State as well. That's coming up next on Hot Mic. Welcome back to this Thursday morning edition of Hot Mic on WDAY Extra and Inform.com. Sam Getzinger filling in for Dom Izzo while he is out on vacation. He'll be back with us on Monday, coming home from New York. Yesterday, we told you the news about longtime Bison assistant coach Nick Gazer electing to resign from his position with North Dakota State football. Spent a lot of time working with the defensive line, was the co-defensive coordinator last season as well. 15 years in total with North Dakota State. Jeff Kolpak, speaking of him again, had an article up on this topic as well on Inform.com. And Coach Gazer told him that one of the main reasons was to spend time and be closer to family. And, of course, his family is growing up quickly. So it's a decision that makes total sense. Now, on the flip side of all this, Coach Polasek and his staff really acted quickly in finding the next guy to try and fill those shoes. And it's a familiar name in Kody Morgan, who was here for 7 years prior. So Bison fans know who he is. Went off to Kent State to help the Golden Flashes in the MAC. And became the defensive coordinator there, and now is electing to come back to Fargo and help out some old friends of his and take on a new role, one that he hasn't done with this Bison football program, and become the defensive tackles coach. I caught up with Kody last night and spoke with him about this whirlwind of a week, what went into the decision to accept the job, and how quickly this all came about, and what he hopes to do as a part of a member of the Bison football program once again. So here's that conversation I had with Kody last night, brought to you by Northwestern Mutual.
Yeah, obviously extremely excited. You know, this is a great opportunity for not only me and my career, but for our family, for for us to get closer to home. My family's from Wisconsin. My wife's family's from, north of Kansas City. It couldn't have come at a better time. We're very excited, and I can't wait to get started, honestly.
Can you describe the timeline of this? Was it as fast as we may think it was with Coach Gazer making the announcement last night on social media and then the announcement that you're coming to the team this morning? Was it that quick, or was there a little bit more time in there?
It was fast. It happens really, really fast in this profession, and those are the things that's just the nature of the beast. But the great news is I've been close with Coach Polisek for as long as I can remember. As a 10-year-old kid, he was my Little League baseball coach. And so I've known him well. He's helped me everywhere through my career, get every job, and we've stayed in contact and stayed in touch. So it was an easy decision, when he made the phone call and quick check with my wife, and hey, away we go. We're ready to rock and roll and move back to Fargo.
That's awesome. Describe what made this, outside of the connection with Coach Polisek, what made this job so intriguing, going from the defensive coordinator at Kent State, school in the MAC, to the defensive tackles coach at the FCS. What made this job intriguing?
Yeah, I think just North Dakota State is a very special place. I think everybody says it when they're there. Everybody says it when they're leaving there. Everybody talks about it. And it's a place that's near and dear to my heart. I owe my whole career to Coach Polisek, and that was a huge part of this decision was that. But it's just such a special place. It's hard to say no to a place like that when you get to come back and play in front of the great fan base that is up there, the great support from administration. I mean, from the top down, North Dakota State, they have it all. They check all the boxes, and so it was an easy decision.
What I find interesting with this, it's not like you're going into a totally new situation. There's a lot of familiar faces that are just doing new things now. How much does that excite you that there's a lot of guys that you're going to remember?
Yeah, I'm really excited. First and foremost, to be able to work with Coach Grant Olson again. I consider him one of my best friends, one of my closest friends, and I'm really excited to work with him. Obviously, I've met Devin Kleiman, working with him. He was an equipment guy when I was there for a little bit, and then he helped work out with the secondary, when I moved over to the defensive side of the ball. So I've been close with Devin. Carlton, I've Carlton Littlejohn, Coach Littlejohn, have met him 1,000 times just being around the program and working camps. So it's going to be a really easy fit for me, just going back to a lot of familiar faces, which is awesome. And a similar defensive scheme. I know there's a little bit tweaks here and there with what Coach Olson's put his spin on some things, but excited to be around those people. It's going to be easy to fit back in and kind of hit the ground running because we got a short amount of time before this thing starts rolling.
Obviously, this opportunity opens up with Coach Gazer announcing that he's stepping away from the team. How much has he meant to you, and how much has he meant to this program?
Yeah, Goose he means a lot to me. I know that this was not an easy decision for him. And I know he takes it with a heavy heart, but something that probably needed to happen for him to move forward with his family. And, it comes at its point in every coach's life where you got to make some tough decisions about that. And I feel for him. Goose is another Iola Scandinavia guy, and so I've been really tight and really close with him, and he means the world to me. Unfortunately, this opportunity comes with him stepping away. I know that that's difficult for him. I'm just grateful for the time that I've had with him to learn as much football and how to be just more than a football coach. And I think that's what Goose has meant to that program for as long as he's been there. Top of all the winning, but just the development of young men. If you scroll through Twitter now, X, I guess the kids are calling it these days, but you can't scroll more than 2 tweets without seeing a former player, a former coach, somebody that life that he's touched. And that's the thing that I'll always take with me. I know I got some huge shoes to fill with that, but he's a great mentor for me, a great friend, and I know he's really close, and I know he's going to help me with this transition and make it seamless as possible.
Are there things you're going to emulate from what you saw from his coaching style that you want to bring with you back here to North Dakota State?
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited first and foremost, Sam, to make it my own. Obviously, I got my own particular coaching style, my own way of doing things. His connection with the players is a thing that I've always tried to take with me once I left North Dakota State. Honestly, the way he connects with the players, the way he cares about it, his guys. I think he's done an unbelievable job of that, and that's a quality that I've always admired about him and the way he's done things. On top of being take the X's and O's out of it, he's a great football coach, right? I mean, he wouldn't be in the position he was if he wasn't. But those are the things that I admire probably most about him that I really want to carry over into my coaching style up there.
Awesome. How much? How much did you follow North Dakota State when you made the transition over to Kent State? Was it something you checked on every week or every once in a while? What's that story?
Yeah, every week we're checking box scores, exchanging messages with guys on the staff. So every week I was checking on them, just like they were checking on us with everything. With Maction on Tuesday nights, we're able to watch a couple games I catch a couple of games on a given Saturday and some playoff games too. So I wasn't far removed from everything that was going on, but also I've stayed in touch with all those guys. So I don't think a week went by where I wasn't talking to somebody on that staff up there.
Well, and obviously you know Coach Polisic very well. I'm sure you weren't surprised to see the kind of year that they had with him leading the program.
Yeah, I know the type of man, the type of coach, the type of leader that Coach P is. Like I said, he's near and dear to my heart, and it does not shock me the way that they went about their business. But that doesn't really matter who's at the helm up there at North Dakota State. Honestly, it's the cog in the machine, and those gears are going to keep on turning. But I'm excited to see them get back on top this last season, and now we got to obviously go and put our stamp on this thing and try to do it better than it's ever been done before again.
How would you describe your time with Kent State when you look back on it full picture? What do you take away?
Yeah, it was a great opportunity. I'm eternally grateful to Kent State University, Coach Kenny Burns, who brought me down here, Coach Carney, who's taken over as the interim. Eternally grateful to this program, these people. They've done an unbelievable job down here from that standpoint, from a support standpoint. But I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot of football. I've learned a lot of recruiting different geographic areas of the country. I'm from Wisconsin. I've always kind of been in that upper Midwest, and now I've been over in Ohio. I had to go and recruit, New Jersey, all the way down to Indiana. Just different parts of that have been something that's been very, very unique. And it's just a different type of player, not a different caliber from a talent standpoint, but just different types of player than the types of players we were recruiting at North Dakota State. And I think for me to be able to come here was a great learning opportunity for that. To be around a whole bunch of different people was great. Obviously got the chance to coordinate. That was always something I'd always wanted to do, was to step into that role and, sit in the chair and run the remote and be in charge of all that thing. So it was a great opportunity from that. And I've learned a ton. And I told Coach P this, and I told the whole staff, I'm going to be a way better assistant having sat in that chair and running those meetings, because I know what it's like now. And I can attest to everybody how I was when I didn't sit in that chair. And now I know, I think I got a lot better perspective on what it takes, and excited to help Grant and Coach Olson and the staff and kind of be better than we've been.
I was going to ask you that too. Grant's going into his second year as the defensive coordinator. He's young. He's new to this. How much does that help the dynamic in that coaching room with you living these experiences, and you can be there and kind of be a supporting hand?
Yeah, I can speak firsthand. At Kent State, had a couple of guys on staff that had coordinating experience before. They were a great help to me. I know that, just bouncing ideas off of them, different ways we can do things. How can we use this terminology and make it simpler for our players? So I'm hoping that I can slide into that role and help Grant as much as he needs and sees fit, but also being a good assistant and being able to just say, here's what we're doing. And when Coach Olson says, this is what we're doing, all right, here we go. Full speed ahead. I'm going to go get it to the guys, and let's rock and roll.
I think the last time you were on the show was about a year ago, and that was before the Penn State Tennessee game. Now you lived that. What was that experience like, going up against top 10 teams in the country?
Can I be honest with you? So everything leading up to kickoff was awesome. And then after about the first couple of drives, then it's like, okay, not as great an experience anymore. But it was Tennessee was probably one of the craziest environments I think I've ever been a part of. It emulates what happens up in the Fargo Dome. Not quite as good, but it's close. I mean, it was a crazy fanfare, and they had it rolling, and they had a good football team and good quarterback and good offense, and they were high flying. So that was a lot of fun. and then to go against Penn State. So actually, Andy Kotelnicki was the offensive coordinator at Penn State. Andy was at the University of Mary when I was a GA. Andy helped me get my first job there. So I got to coordinate against them. And, obviously they were really, really good this year. So, we faced a gauntlet of two really good college football playoff teams. The experience was awesome. Like I said, the fanfare, all the excitement building up. As a player, they don't get to experience that as much. As a coach, you can at least step back for a second and kind of take it all in, and then all right, now we got to go back to work. But it was good and bad. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of excitement building up to those games, and obviously you guys saw the results. It wasn't as fun to be on that butt kicking end of all that stuff, but still great experiences that I'll take with me. And playing in front of large crowds and fun environments, definitely cool for sure.
There's a reason why they're going for national titles every year. Yeah, no doubt about that. Are you excited to get back to college football on Saturdays? Is that something that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. The action stuff it's unique. It's obviously different. We're their only show in town on a Tuesday or a Wednesday night. The fans in the stands, it's definitely a weird feeling. Yeah. That first Tuesday night action game I was a part of, I'll never forget it, because you're walking out there and it's eerily quiet. It's just a whole different type of environment. But from a scheduling standpoint, I know everybody's interested. Like, how do you play on a Tuesday night? Well, they always give you a bye week leading into it. So you have about 10 days to prepare, and then you're on that Tuesday schedule. So for a coach, you just, okay, this is the day after the game. This is the next day. You're in routine. The players, it's tough on them for sure. Right. They got to give in class during the day on a Tuesday, and then they're cut from class. And, hey, we got a game Tuesday night here. We're going to play at Akron, which is right down the road. So it provided a ton of challenges. I'm excited to just get back to football on Saturdays and kickoff times, how they normally are, and ready to rock and roll for all that for sure.
I know you've been plugged in with North Dakota State over the years, but do you feel like you have to relearn the landscape of FCS with all the changes that have been going on, even this week with North Dakota State opting into the House settlement? Do you feel like you got to study up on that before you get back to campus?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a little different. Luckily, we were going through that here at Kent State, going through all that same stuff and having a lot of those conversations. So I know part of Coach P bringing me on, he's pretty excited about the fact that I'll have some expertise, some knowledge to be able to share and talk about the stuff that we were doing down here at Kent State. And so it's definitely different. I mean, football has changed. College football has changed dramatically in the last 5 years. I mean, turn it on its head, change everything upside down, inside out. So there definitely will be a learning curve, especially, going back to FCS football. But I'm excited for the challenge that it brings. And I know from an administrative standpoint at NDSU, from the top down, the support is unreal and unbelievable. And I know that we're going to handle it in the best way possible moving forward, and excited for it.
Well, when you get here and you make the transition fully to going from the defensive coordinator role to defensive tackles coach, do you have to adjust your coaching style at all, that now that you're, okay, I'm focused on the defensive line? And obviously describe your experience coaching just the defensive line.
Yeah, it's definitely different when you sit in that, defensive coordinator chair. You're having to watch a position and obviously, holistic approach to seeing everybody. So now it's definitely going to be a little bit different, but I look forward to diving into all the details of just a specific position. Obviously I've been a position coach and coached the corners, coached the safeties up there. I coached the safeties here before, coached the defensive line. The only position I haven't coached is linebackers yet. So I got to talk to Gio about that one. Maybe slide me in there for a couple of weeks. But I'm excited to dive into just every detail that it takes to just coach the defensive line position. And, from talking with Goose already, I know how detailed of a coach and a person he is, and excited to dive back into that, to just be, focused just on that part of the thing. And then, hey, how that fits into the general scheme and everything. I think that's the exciting challenge. And I'm looking forward to it, to now be able to be really honed in on one specific thing and not having to look at everything. I think it will make me an even better position coach than probably I was in the past.
Have you had the opportunity to look at the core guys at that defensive tackle position? What excites you with them?
Yeah, it's a really good group. I know that from talking to Coach Polisek and Coach Gazer. It's a great group of people. I think is the biggest thing first and foremost. take the football side of things out of there. I think they have recruited that position really, really well, and Goose has done a great job of coaching and teaching those guys, and they're fun to watch play. They play hard, they play fast, they play together. That group is special, and I think it shows the way that they have been coached, the way they've been brought up there, the way they've grown up, and just I'm excited for the opportunity. There's some really, really talented football players in there.
What's the plan for you? When can we expect you back on campus?
Yeah, around mid-July. So it's gonna happen pretty quick. My family, my wife and I, we're taking our 2-year-old daughter. We're going down to see some family this weekend down in Kansas City, and then we'll be making the trek up there to check out some places and some houses, and then I'll be ready to rock and roll, boots on the ground, and hit it running. And I'm looking forward to it.
Is there anything you're excited for getting back into town, like places you're excited to go to?
Oh, there's the list goes on and on for sure. Blarney Stone was a personal favorite of mine. I haven't been to Blarney Stone in obviously years. Mexican Food Plaza Azteca. I think my wife should have bought stock in that place with how much she's been there. But so she works for Goldmark, so she goes back and forth. She works remotely down here, so she would go back and she'd always send me pictures. I miss that spot for sure. What was the other place? Place across from Shields. Porter Creek.
Oh yeah.
Porter Creek. That's probably my favorite restaurant, probably in the whole city. But I hope no one's getting mad at me just naming off a couple because there's 100.
There's a lot of great places. I don't. Yeah, we won't get you in trouble or anything. I gotta tell you before I let you go. Since the release came out this morning, I've had like 3 or 4 people tell me about Dom and a bag of chips and whatever that whole situation was. So I just wanted to let you know that's still a very relevant thing around here.
Well, I really don't know what happened in Macomb. I really don't. And there's a lot of rumors floating around this bag of chips. I know what Coach Lewis Walker said. I know what he said. I don't know that there's any truth to that story, but I cannot confirm nor deny any rumors surrounding the bag of chips that Dom Izzo lost. I mean, and let's put it this way: like if he had done a better job taking care of his stuff and had it, like we probably wouldn't be sitting here and talking about all this stuff with the chips gone missing. But maybe it was a Western Illinois Leatherneck that just needed to. I don't know if Dom has enemies over there. Maybe he's just made some enemies and they decided to steal his chips. I'm not sure.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Well, I appreciate you for doing this, man. Thanks for hopping on and taking some time. I know it's been a crazy week, so enjoy your 4th of July weekend, and we'll see you when you get up here.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we're excited to get up there, and the rumor is it takes at least 2 Iola Scandinavia T-Birds to win a national championship. I'm pretty sure. So someone's got to do some fact checking for me on that, but I'm pretty sure there's been at least 2 Iola Scandinavia T-Birds on staff or part of the team. I think every national championship, maybe even 1, but I think every single one. There's been 2.
I'm gonna have to do the research on that.
You're gonna have to do some research.
Fill that role then with another.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was a prereq for the job. I think that's the biggest reason that we threw back on there is the Iowa Scandinavia connection. Here we go.
That's awesome. I appreciate it. Thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah.
We'll see you when you get here.
Absolutely, Sam. Great talking with you.
Kody Morgan on this Thursday morning. Great conversation with him brought to you by Northwestern Mutual. We got to get back on track with time. We'll take a break. When we come back, hour number 2 coming up just a couple of moments on Hot Mic. Welcome back on Hot Mic. We got to catch up on time. Hour number 2 coming up in just a couple of moments. Lot to talk about with Alec Ausmus. St. Cloud Power Hour coming up next on WDAY Extra.
This is Hot Mic. Hot Mic on the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Back at it for hour number 2 on this Thursday morning. Sam Getzinger filling in for Dom Izzo. And, of course, it is a Thursday, and that means the St. Cloud Power Hour goes to the extreme. Myself and happy to welcome in Alec Ausmus from KSTP joining us once again. Should have heard the conversation we were having off air, just reminiscing about the good old days of St. Cloud. How you doing, man? Good to see you.
I am all right, man. It's 4th of July is always one of those, in my opinion, weird holiday weeks because it kind of sneaks up on you sometimes.
Yes.
Like this year being on a Friday. When I left the TV station yesterday around I don't know. I thought I was getting off work early yesterday around 4:30, and I go out to the parking lot, and it's basically already empty. I feel like people have already hit the lake, man. They're out of town. They're headed to the lake. I'm a little jealous. I wish I had a lake property that I was spending this weekend at, but it's always fun, man. 4th of July. I'm not a hot dog eting contest guy. I'll watch it.
Come on.
I'll watch it, but I could maybe do 3-4 hot dogs, Sam. I mean, what about you?
Well, it depends on the time slot you give me. If you give me however much time they got, I can't do that. I'm probably in your boat, probably 5 if I go quickly. But if you give me an hour, then we're talking a different conversation here. But I'm excited to watch Joey Chestnut. I'm excited for that. And I would agree with you. It's been a ghost town around here. We show tower cams of the lake, and I get jealous. But we got a lot to unpack with you, a lot going on. I know you've been a busy guy following with things. And frankly, I don't even know exactly where to start. I guess we'll start with the Timberwolves here. Give us the lowdown of what they've been doing on free agency. Obviously, the big news is with Naz Reid and Julius Randle. What do you make of what the Timberwolves have done over the last couple of weeks here?
Well, when the last season ended, right, we already knew that there were going to be decisions to be made with Naz Reid, Julius Randle, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Now, obviously, the Josh Minotts of the team, the Luka Garza's of the team, they also are now gone, but they weren't the centerpieces of the conversation. You knew that the Timberwolves could probably keep 2 of the 3, meaning the Naz Reid, Randle, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Personally, with Julius Randle being back, Naz Reid coming back, I think that was best case scenario. Now, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, that isn't just you don't take that one lightly. That's not a guy leaving the team that you're like, good riddance. He wasn't even that big of a deal. No, that's a big deal. Okay, he offered ball handling. He offers good defense. Occasionally, he can score. I mean, that's not a simple player to replace. Now, it sounds like Jalen Clark, Terrence Shannon Jr., which the Summer League roster just came out about 10 minutes ago. And looking at that, Rob Dillingham is on there, Terrence Shannon Jr., Jalen Clark, Leonard Miller also on the summer. I mean, that's 4 guys that could see decent minutes, not starting minutes necessarily, but decent minutes next season for the Timberwolves that are on the Summer League roster, which gets started here in about a week. So that's exciting to see. That, to me, adds a lot of interest to the Timberwolves Summer League rotation, just watching those guys play. But I think the plan moving forward to replace Nickeil with the current lineup is what can Jalen Clark and Terrence Shannon Jr. as a duo, can they replace what Nickeil would bring to the table? And like I said, Nickeil did have ball handling skills. Like he wasn't a point guard, but he could fill that role if Mike Conley was in foul trouble or Dante DiVincenzo wasn't necessarily in the game. Like Nickeil offered that. Now, there's kind of an idea of when a team is young and getting better, keep it together. Let's get that slogan going. So with that, that's what applies to Naz Reid. Okay, there was what was great with Naz Reid, talking to him when the season ended, he had a sense of loyalty to the Timberwolves. Now, money does talk. Let's not act like Naz Reid was going to give the Timberwolves a bargain of a deal just because he has loyalty to the Timberwolves. They had to take care of him, which they did. I don't even remember the exact total. 120 or 100 some million dollars a year, I think. I mean, 20 some million a year.
125, yeah.
125. Okay, that sounds right.
Yep.
So Naz Reid was undrafted in 2019. The Timberwolves saw the potential, took a flyer on him, brought him in, developed him. And look at there's people now in Minnesota, Timberwolves fans, that have Naz Reid tattoos. I mean, it's kind of crazy, the cult hero that he's been able to develop, the role he's been able to develop with the Timberwolves. That was fantastic. I think Naz Reid's role is only going to expand with the Timberwolves. He may need to come in off the bench a little bit still. But when you're making $20 million, $25 million a year, I think he's fine with the minutes that he's getting.
Right.
Overall, it's good. And Julius Randle, complete 180 of a player from this time. Well, he wasn't with the Timberwolves this time a year ago, but when he first
from the
was
beginning to
Minnesota,
Yep, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, so Julius Randle proved. I mean, they would not have been in the Western Conference Finals without the consistent play of Julius Randle. I know it wasn't great against Oklahoma City, but let's be honest, they went on to win the championship, and that was just a good team. So good moves all around by the Timberwolves. I've said this before. Tim Connolly, GM, president of basketball operations for the Wolves, he makes the right moves. He makes the right decisions. He doesn't do things, at least so far, that have turned out to be bad decisions. So I got no complaints about this. It's tough to see Nickeil gone, but the Timberwolves are moving in the right direction, and they have to. They have to maintain, because Oklahoma City isn't getting worse anytime soon.
Right. They just re-signed SGA to a massive deal as well. And I think we're all under the understanding that we love Nickeil Alexander-Walker, but we appreciate the fact that another team's going to give him an opportunity to play a couple of more minutes than the Timberwolves would have given. Before we wrap up the Timberwolves conversation here, it sounds like they want a ball handler, but they don't have a lot of room to work with. Am I understanding that situation correctly?
Absolutely. I mean, Mike Conley, we love Mike Conley in the media. Yeah. He's a great interview. He's a class act, but he's up there in age. 37 maybe? When the season starts, going on maybe 38. I'm not sure his exact age, but Mike Conley has got a lot of mileage. But he's a veteran, man. He knows his mind is what you want out of a point guard. But is he the starting point guard at the moment? Yes. But I see Mike Conley playing about 20 minutes a game next season. So that's not what you want out of your starting point guard. So at the moment, with how things currently stand, current roster, your options, Rob Dillingham, instant offense with Rob Dillingham. At least the moments we saw last year, he's a great facilitator as a rookie. He could score. I mean, he really got Anthony Edwards involved. I mean, the Timberwolves were like a +9 when Rob Dillingham was on the floor with Ant. He was good with Naz Reid. He was good with Rudy Gobert down in the paint, but a lot of turnovers, okay? The decision-making is still a problem with Rob Dillingham, but he was just a rookie. I'm glad that Dillingham is on the summer league roster for what they're going to do out in Las Vegas. That's a must. Also, on the bench is Dante DiVincenzo, point guard option, 1A, point guard option 1B. I don't know. I do think the Timberwolves still have a little wiggle room to maybe go sign somebody, a Spencer Dinwiddie. I don't know. I'm so bad at always trying to guess who they might be after, because I thought maybe Tyus Jones or his brother Trey Jones. I thought one of them would maybe be Minnesota bound this week. Obviously, that didn't happen. But yeah, they do need a ball handler. Mike Conley is great for the locker room. He's great for these young guys. That's a great person for Rob Dillingham to be learning from, but there's a lot of mileage on Conley, and that is concerning going into this next season.
I'm in your same boat. I would love to see Tyus Jones or Trey Jones, Apple Valley natives, come back to the Minnesota Timberwolves, but it doesn't look like we're going to get that at least this season. That's what's going on in the Wolves. Alec, you got a couple more minutes. We got a lot more to chat with you. If we go to break,
let's hang around. Let's hang around. I got nowhere to be. It's only the 4th of July weekend.
I got nothing else planned either, so let's do it. Okay, we got more coming up with Alec Ausmus here on this Thursday morning. Let's get to break. When we come back, we got some links I want to touch on and some wild news as well. That's coming up when we come back. Back here on this Thursday morning. Thanks for joining us on Hot Mic on WDAY Extra, KSFL TV in Sioux Falls, KNBN in Rapid City, also streaming on Inform.com. Alec Ausmus from KSTP joining us on this Thursday morning. St. Cloud Power Hour continues. A lot to touch on in the couple of minutes we have with him here. We just got done talking about the Wolves. I want to go to the other side of the floor here and talk some links. What happened in the Commissioner's Cup final? I thought we had that game under locks going into it.
When we learned early in the afternoon that Caitlin Clark would not be playing for the Fever, I thought a easy walk in the park win for a Lynx team that was healthy. Nafisa Collier's back from a back injury, and she played a night before and had a good game, and everything's looking great. I'll tell you this too, Sam. I was in Target Center for pregame, and obviously the news of Caitlin Clark not playing was already out, but seeing clearly many people in Minneapolis that were even drove up from Iowa with, Caitlin Clark college Iowa jerseys on. And there was a lot of Fever fans that were here, I assume, from Indiana. A bummer. It was kind of a letdown, right? Like it was kind of this Collier versus Clark matchup. Those are the two. We're going to be saying those two names in the WNBA for the next decade.
Yep.
And many times in the moving forward, it's going to be one versus the other for MVP of the league. So the good news is this won't be the last time, but the bad news is it was kind of a letdown all around. Like the Lynx didn't shoot well. Cheryl Reeve clearly addressed that after the game. I mean, they only made like 19 shots in the whole game, and we don't see a lot of that from this Lynx team. That was their worst shooting game of the season. Previously, though, when they had bad shooting nights, they still found ways to gut out a win. You know, they would win the fourth quarter usually. That didn't happen at all this last night. Lynx are back at it tonight against the Mystics. My panic needle is nowhere near red.
Yes, no,
with
it
this
shouldn't
Lynx
be.
team. It was a bummer. It was a letdown.
Yep.
But they're going to be fine. They're a good team. Cheryl Reeve is the best coach in the league. But they have a chance to bounce back tonight at home against the Mystic.
When they said it too after the game, it doesn't matter. It sucks that we didn't get the money that we were kind of hoping for and get the hardware as well. But it's okay. It's not the end of the world. This is still the best team in the WNBA.
Yeah, but you're right. That a $500,000 purse that they let slip through their fingers. I mean, that in any league is nothing to bat your eyelashes at. $500,000.
Yep, no doubt about that. And I know that was something that they definitely wanted to get their hands on. I want to turn the conversation over. A couple of minutes left here with Alec Ausmus from KSTP. Going over to the Wild, because I haven't touched on him a lot this week. First of all, I want to get your thoughts, and I want you to be honest. Grand Casino Arena. What do you think?
I am from Hinckley, so Grand Casino Hinckley has been around my life ever since. My dad's actually worked there since the day it opened, but as an arena. So I typed into ChatGPT like nicknames for an arena named after a casino, and I put Grand Casino Arena, and the best option was like not slot machine, but it was something along those lines. It doesn't. It just doesn't flow.
I've heard a couple too. It's weird. Going to the X was such a phrase that I think every Minnesotan would say. And
it's edgy, right? Like we're going to the X. I mean, I remember a couple years ago when Miller Park in Milwaukee for the Brewers switched over to American Family Field. I mean, Miller Park in a city like Milwaukee is the perfect name for a baseball stadium. Anyway, it's going to take a while to come up with a good nickname for Grand Casino.
I totally agree. Eric, our producer, actually earlier this week when the news came down, brought up that exact point. He's a diehard Brewers fan. So I totally agree with you. It's probably fans are going to call it the X for a while, but they're getting the name changed. We'll digress from that conversation because I want to talk about what the Wild have actually done here. Free agency wise, it seems like they've been quiet. Now they have added a couple of names in Vladimir Tarasenko and Nico Sturm. Great. If this was 5-7 years ago, I'd be a little bit more excited about this, but at least they're getting something.
There would be a parade going through St. Paul right now if we had Vladimir Tarasenko from 5-6 years ago.
Yes.
Well, here's what I've learned with the Wild in the offseason, and we heard from Bill Guerin earlier this week. They are deathly afraid, and I don't blame them for this. They do not want to be backed into a corner again financially. The Ryan Suter, Zach Parise contracts have scarred them for a long time. And I don't blame them. All right? Just because they have some cash to spend this offseason, roughly $18 million before they signed the two guys you just mentioned, Bill Guerin flat out told us, just because we have the cash, like we can't be dumb with this. So the Wild are making small moves, but they're not going to be sexy moves. And right now, that's okay. Because I don't want them to pour all of their eggs into one basket. Now, they need to get a deal done with you-know-who, all right? Our guy, Kirill Kaprizov. Guerin said that just because they were able to do it officially on Tuesday, he didn't expect a Kirill Kaprizov deal to get done on Tuesday, but he's confident they will. Now, look at Vladimir Tarasenko. Let's talk about him for a second. Russian.
Yes.
Same agent as Kirill Kaprizov. So that doesn't guarantee Kirill's going to sign, but it certainly doesn't hurt.
Right.
Let's give Kirill another player that speaks his home language and was a star hockey player. So I think that move solely was to add some talent. Like maybe there's an ounce of MVP-like play left in Tarasenko. I doubt it, but maybe. So you're getting better by adding a veteran like that on the team, but you're also giving somebody for your main guy, Kirill Kaprizov, to feel comfortable with. And Vladimir Tarasenko told us via Zoom when the Wild signed him that he chatted with Kirill about the Wild organization before he signed, and he said Kirill had nothing but good things to say.
That's good to hear. Okay.
I'm reading between the lines a little bit, but Kirill didn't badmouth Minnesota, and Vladimir Tarasenko was like, okay, this sounds pretty good. I'm coming. And it's exciting. And one more thing on Tarasenko.
Yes.
He and Zach Bogosian are the only two guys on the Wild roster now that have deep playoff experience. Both have Stanley Cups under their belt. Florida for Bogosian and St. Louis and somebody else. Tarasenko has two. I can't think of the second one, but St. Louis.
Florida, wasn't it?
Florida. You're right. He also got one with Florida before he went to Detroit this last year. So now you have two guys that have been there and done that. That doesn't hurt either. Overall, I don't hate the move.
And honestly, you can add Nico Sturm to that as well, who's coming 2 year, $4 million. Yeah, he's got it.
He just won one.
He's got two Stanley Cups. He's finals.
So there's three guys now.
Yes. So they're building that experience, and I love the fact that they got Tarasenko for essentially nothing as well. So it's a high reward, low risk situation. We got a couple of minutes with you left here. I saw you posted this on Twitter. I'm a golf guy. The 3M Open's coming up at the end of the month in 3 weeks down in the Twin Cities, TPC Twin Cities. I saw you played the course. It's a beautiful course. How did that go? How's it looking heading into the tournament later this month?
It's fun to play that course and then watch the pros play it, because the holes that I struggled on, they are dropping dimes from 200 yards out.
Yes.
As a group, it was the KSTP, me, Chris Long, Brett Hofflin, and retired sports director Joe Schmidt. And as a group, as a scrum, had we not bogeyed hole 18, we would have finished 1 under. Now
that's not bad.
No, exactly. Yeah. We get into the clubhouse though, and we learn that the leading group, who I don't remember who it was, where they're from, they finished 9 under. So we're like, it's awesome. It's a growing event. It's PGA Tour. It's some of the best golfers. I mean, they said 30 of the top 80 golfers on the tour right now are scheduled to play there. The one complaint I have, and I think many have, is it's for the second straight year. It's right after the British Open.
Correct.
So you're not getting
the
big guys. You're not getting the heavy hitters to come play in Minneapolis a week after the British Open. So, and this isn't a dig against anybody, but you got to settle for the Tony Finau's of the world, and he came in here and he won this thing 2 years ago.
Yep.
He's a great golfer. They're all great golfers, but you don't have you're not seeing Rory McIlroy playing around here in Blaine that week or anything, but it's still great. It's growing. They do a fantastic job, and they let the media come out and do a round, and they feed us, and they let us kind of dink around out on the course and replay a hole if we want. And no complaints, man. It's fun.
That's awesome. How many did you put in the water in 18?
As a group, at least 5. I'm not kidding. I didn't clear the water. I had to take somebody else's hit. I tried. All right. Yeah. I was probably 200 yards out.
You got to try it.
Yep. I came up short, and I'm okay with that.
That's all right. Well, that's fun. That's good to hear. I'm looking forward to that. It's one of my favorite events of the summer. I try to make a trip down there every year that I can, and you're not going to see Scotty Scheffler there, but you'll see Sam Burns. You'll see Max Homa. Even Ricky Fowler, I think, maybe, who always draws a big crowd at this thing. So it's a fun event. Tom Hoagie from North Dakota, Fargo, he's going to be there, and he gets a big crowd as well. So looking forward to that. That's going to be a lot of fun. Alec, I appreciate you coming on. Thanks for extending this St. Cloud Power Hour, and we'll see you back here next week.
Absolutely, Sam. Thanks for having me. Happy 4th of July, and have a good weekend, everybody.
You too. Have a good holiday weekend. Alec Ausmus joining us from KSTP down in the Twin Cities. Always great to chat with him about what's going on in the Minnesota professional sports world. A ton of news. Timberwolves, Lynx. We talked about Twins earlier. Wolves are doing something. It's all the logistical stuff right now as we go through the month of July. But great to have him on and chat with him as well. Get some St. Cloud representation on this show that it lacks, except on Thursday. Just kidding. All right, we're due for a break. Let's take one. When we come back, he mentioned it. Wolves Summer League roster is out. We'll take a peek at that, and then we'll get you ready for the 4th of July that's coming up. Hot Mike returns after this. Rolling on this Thursday morning edition of Hot Mike. Thanks for joining us on WDAY Extra, KSFL TV in Sioux Falls, KNBN in Rapid City, streaming on Inform.com, also the WDAY Plus app. Big thank you to Kody Morgan for taking some time yesterday, having a conversation, and I'm glad we could air that earlier this morning as well. Big thank you to Alec Ausmus as well for joining us this morning, too, chatting about what's going on in the Minnesota sports world. If you missed any of those, you can podcast it later on, so be on the lookout for that. You heard Alec mention it. Summer League rosters have come out actually just within the hour here. The Minnesota Timberwolves have released their roster. Some familiar names on there and some I have never heard of. Of course, you got the big guns off the top. Rob Dillingham is on the team. Terrence Shannon Jr. Is on the team. Their first-round draft pick from this year, and I'm going to butcher his name because I just learned out in the commercial break. I've been saying it wrong this whole time. Johan Berenzi. I've been saying Behringer. I guess it's Berenzi or somewhere in that neighborhood. He's on this Summer League roster as well. Leonard Miller is a familiar name. He's there. From there, Jalen Clark. Remember that name? Jamal Cain used to play for the Pelicans. Besides that, I don't know. I don't know a lot of these guys. But that's okay. That's what the Summer League's all about. The Wolves are going to be in action. It looks like their first preliminary round game is July 10th. They have New Orleans. From there, they'll play on the 12th against Denver, the 15th against Detroit, and the 16th against Phoenix. So we'll get you ready for those as we get closer. That's the Timberwolves Summer League roster. The San Antonio Spurs also released their Summer League roster the other day. And a familiar name that we know for sure is definitely on that roster. Jackson Money is on the cut. He'll get his opportunity there and try to fight his way for a true NBA spot. So Jackson Money's on there. Are there any other names that we know on this list? Any elite Spurs minds out there? Jameer Nelson Jr. I'm assuming Jameer Nelson, the NBA great, is his dad. But besides that, I don't know any of those guys either. I believe their first game is coming up here in just a couple of days as well. I had it pulled up and I lost it. We'll have our research team get in the mix on that. But congratulations to Jackson Money for getting in the mix there. We'll see what he can do in the Summer League moving forward. We'll give you an update on when their game is. But the Wolves roster is out. We'll see what these young guns can do. Again, the Wolves extending Naz Reid last weekend, extending Julius Randle. We also didn't mention it. Joe Ingles is coming back as well. 1 year, $3 million deal there. Of course, it comes with the loss of Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Luka Garza and Josh Minot are both gone as well. They were holding down the Wolves bench for a while, but then they both go to Boston, interestingly enough. Boston came in and swooped Luka Garza up right away. It sounds like that was a guy they were pretty high on for a little bit, and they have some questions with their big men now, with Kristaps Porzingis being gone, and now what's going to happen with Al Horford, and Luke Kornet moved on in free agency as well. I don't know. So we'll see if Luka Garza can get a little playing time with the Boston Celtics. That would be something. We'll go from there. Another thing I wanted to mention that we were talking about with Alec as well in the Wolves free agency season. who they're going to get moving forward. I haven't seen any official deals done. They don't have a lot of room to work with after spending a ton of money on Naz Reid and Julius Randle. And we've kind of went through that initial way of the NBA free agency, which was exciting as it always is every year. I will say this every time, that the NBA free agency season is the most exciting free agency season across sports. Guys in the back, would you agree with that? I think the NBA free agent, there's always big moves, always big names changing places. The amount of money that's being tossed out is ludicrous. So we've gone through that big wave. Now that leaves a wave of who else can the Wolves go get if they want to make a move here. We mentioned Tyus Jones and Trey Jones, the Jones brothers from Apple Valley, Minnesota, who were unbelievable when I was coming up through school down in southern Minnesota. They were fun to watch. Tyus Jones is at Orlando. Trey Jones re-signed with Chicago. So they're taken out. Who's left on the board? I'm looking at some names here. Malcolm Brogdon is on the list. Okay, that's a possibility. 32-year-old. Decent numbers last season, 12, 4, and 4. Monte Morris is a guy that could come back, played for the Wolves a couple of years back. Who else is here on this list? Dante Exum. Do we really want Dante Exum? If you remember his story, he came up. He was a pretty highly touted draft prospect, played in the NBA for a little bit, and then went overseas. And then, if I'm not mistaken, came back to the NBA this past season. Spencer Dinwiddie is still on the board. That's a name that basketball fans may be familiar with. He had 11, 3, and 4 last season with the Mavericks. And, of course, the Mavericks have been making a ton of moves as well. So there's a couple of names there of guys. I wouldn't expect a massive move. Now, I say that. I should hold the phone there because I was seeing some things this morning. Of course, with whatever Eric's Bucks are doing. They got rid of Damian Lillard, who's been coming off of an injury. Wolves don't have a lot of money to throw around, but is that a name that they could go after? Potentially. Let him heal up a little bit, and who knows? We may have another Derrick Rose situation on our hands here. I'd be okay with that. Why not? He's still got a little pep to his step. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what the Wolves do moving forward. But again, Summer League rosters are out. That's coming up in a couple of days here. Those games get started. Congrats to those guys. Also, congrats to Jackson Money as well. And Grant Nelson. The Brooklyn Nets haven't released their Summer League roster, but he'll be on there as well. So that's what we got going on in the basketball world. We'll keep our eye on free agency and what's happening there. Let's take another break. When we come back, we have some MLB news to pass along your way. We'll get into our what to watch for today and then ship you off on this Thursday morning. That's coming up next on Hot Mic. Couple of minutes left here on this Thursday morning. Once again, big thank you to Kody Morgan and Alec Ausmus for joining us as well as we get ready to head into the holiday weekend. Tomorrow is the 4th of July. Coming up tomorrow as well, we will be on the air, and it'll be a fun show planned for you. We're obviously going to focus on the hot dog eating contest. We'll preview that, getting ready for that. So be on the lookout there. A couple of great guests lined up as well. Again, on Friday, Corey Provis will join us. We'll talk about what's going on with the Minnesota Twins and preview the series coming up with the Tampa Bay Rays. Again, still not sure who is going to pitch on Saturday for the Minnesota Twins. Bailey Ober was supposed to pitch tomorrow. He is now on the 15-day injured list with a hip impingement, and that moved Chris Paddock from Saturday to Friday, and now that Saturday slot is open, so we'll see who gets the nod there. Of course, also tomorrow, it's been a big week, not just for Division I athletics, but for now Division II athletics as well, and the University of Jamestown, who has become a full member of the Northern Sun Intercollegiate Conference. and a full member at the Division II level as well. So Austin Heap will join us talking about their transition and what their plan is moving forward into this exciting time at the University of Jamestown. And we'll get you ready for the weekend as well. Another fun guest plan, too. Chad Kuhl from Northland Outdoors is going to join us, get us ready for some time out on the lake. We're going to learn about fishing a little bit tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that. Before we get into our what to watch and get out the door here on this Thursday, a couple of things to pass along here. All-star rosters are out for the MLB. They were released the other day. Let's throw them up here. The National League All-Star starters, I shouldn't say full rosters, but starters have been released. This is a look at what you got. Manny Machado at third, Francisco Lindor at short, Ketel Marte at second, Freddie Freeman at first, Shohei Ohtani is the DH. You got a couple of Cubs in the outfield, Ronald Acuna Jr. out in right, Will Smith the catching, if I didn't mention that already. I don't know who's going to be their starting pitcher. If I had to throw out a guess here on some projections that I've seen, Mackenzie Gore potentially could be a name thrown out there. Zach Wheeler, I think, most likely will be the guy. So we'll see who they announce as the starting pitcher and who's going to fill out the rest of the roster there. This is the AL starters for the All-Star game that's coming up. Pretty solid lineup. Good to see the Tigers represented. You know, I'll tell you this. I grew up as a Tigers fan before I smartened up and moved over to the Twins because decided to cheer for a hometown team for once. They were never good when I enjoyed the Tigers. And now to see them have a little success, congratulations to them. Now, I hope they'd slow down a little bit so the Twins could catch up, but they were due for something. Riley Green out left, Javi Baez at center, Aaron Judge, who's been on another tear. He's out in right field. Yeah, Jose Ramirez, Jacob Wilson, Gleyber Torres, Vladimir Guerrero, and then Cal Raleigh, who is the number one guy. Yeah, the nickname, awesome nickname, Big Dumper. He's the catcher. He leads the MLB in homers right now. He's got over 30 of them. He's been really, really impressive to watch. I'd be shocked. I would be amazed if Tarek Skubal wasn't the AL starting pitcher in the All-Star game. I would be thrilled. We'll see where they go there. He had 13 strikeouts against the Minnesota Twins the other day. Only held him to one hit. He's a stud. Yeah, Eric says that's not saying much. You're correct, but outside of that, it's pretty solid. Another big thing before we get into our what to watch here. Big news yesterday. Big congratulations extended out to Clayton Kershaw. He becomes the 20th pitcher in Major League Baseball history to record 3,000 career strikeouts. The last guy to do it was Max Scherzer. So congratulations to Clayton Kershaw. Long time coming for him. Stud pitcher. I haven't watched a ton of him this year. But I was amazed to see this, too. I thought it was funny because they were playing the White Sox and they were actually losing. The Dodgers would hold on and win 5-4. They would come back and win the game against the White Sox. Kershaw yesterday went 6 innings, gave up 9 hits, 4 runs, did have 3 strikeouts, gave up a homer as well. All that doesn't matter. They got the win, and he is now in the history books in the MLB. Congratulations. Long time coming to Clayton Kershaw. There's a new member of the 3,000 club in the MLB. With that being said, let's get into our what to watch for tonight, and we'll get out the door on this Thursday morning. Minnesota Twins back in action here in just a couple of minutes, actually. They got the Miami Marlins wrapping up that series. You can catch that 11:10, first pitch on Twins TV. So right when we're done here, you can tune it on over to that, or you can stick around and watch the 11 o'clock news here on WDAY. Not a bad option as well. So Twins matinee. Also tonight, as Alec mentioned, the Lynx are back in action, trying to rebound after that Commissioner's Cup loss the other day to the Indiana Fever. They have the Mystics, 7 o'clock start time for that on the FanDuel Sports Network. And then other good baseball. This series has been actually kind of intriguing. Yankees and Blue Jays coming up later on tonight. I believe the Yankees came back from, down 8 runs the other day to knock off the Blue Jays. That's a divisional matchup for both of them. So if you want to tune into some of that baseball later on tonight, you can do that. Big thank you once again to Kody Morgan and Alec Ausmus for joining us on this Thursday morning. Enjoy your Thursday. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning for the 4th of July. Have a great rest of your Thursday.